Assalamu alaikum, this is Kim Yaorin welcoming you to Afternoon News. The results of the SSC and equivalent examinations have been published simultaneously across the country. This year, the average pass rate across the 11 education boards, including 9 SSC boards, was 62.25%. The pass rate was 64.05% for SSC, 55.49% for Dakhil, and 58.20% for SSC vocational and Dakhil vocational examinations. This is nearly 6 percentage points lower than last year. A total of 1,16,676 students achieved GPA 5. Although both the overall pass rate and the number of students achieving GPA 5 declined compared with the previous year, the government said its focus is not on pass rates or the number of GPA 5 achievers, but rather on improving the overall quality of education. Meanwhile, authorities said students who failed may apply online for re-scrutiny of their examination scripts from August 11 to 17. Education Minister Dr. A.N.M. Ehsanul Haq Milan formally inaugurated the publication of the results at the conference room of the Ministry of Education on Monday morning. Prime Minister's Education Advisor Dr. Mahdi Amin, chairpersons of all education boards and ministry officials were present on the occasion. Noting that women's education has undergone a revolution under BNP governments, Prime Minister's Education Advisor Dr. Mahdi Amin said that this year too, the pass rate and number of female students achieving GPA 5 have increased. He also outlined the government's plans to improve the country's education system. This year's SSC and equivalent examinations began on April 21st with more than 18 lakh students taking part. With the publication of the results today, these young students have taken forward another step on their educational journey. Breaking a 20-year record, the SSC examination results were published today in just 82 days. According to the results, girls once again outperformed boys in both the pass rate and the number of students achieving GPA 5. Parents and students celebrated the success in this important public examination with immense joy. Some are also sharing their celebrations on social media. However, there were also students who were disappointed with the results or did not achieve their expected grades. They will be able to apply online for re-scrutiny of the results from August 11 to 17. Prime Minister Tariq Rahman said achieving the Sustainable Development Goals (SDGs) would require collective efforts from all sections of society, outlining the government's vision of a democratic state based on free elections, rule of law, and institutional accountability. The Prime Minister made the remarks while inaugurating the national conference titled Navigating 5-Year Strategic Framework for Achieving SDGs, Policy, Partnership and Priority 2026. The General Economics Division GED of the Bangladesh Planning Commission and the Governance Innovation Unit of the Prime Minister's Office jointly organized the national conference at the Bangladesh-China Friendship Conference Center today. Prime Minister Tariq Rahman said, Bangladesh has made significant progress in implementing the Millennium Development Goals (MDGs) and is continuing to take steps towards achieving the SDGs. He said, the SDG principle of leaving no one behind is closely aligned with the government's policy of putting Bangladesh first while protecting the interests of people from all sections of society. Referring to the BNP's previous development plans, the head of their government said his party's programs has always been people-oriented. The Prime Minister said more than a decade and a half of fascist rule has left Bangladesh dependent on loans and imports and weakened key sectors including education, healthcare, and the environment. He said rebuilding the country would require a comprehensive approach with the SDGs playing an important role in guiding the process.
ঋণ নির্ভর এবং আমদানি নির্ভর ভঙ্গুর রাষ্ট্রে পরিণত করেছিল। শিক্ষা, স্বাস্থ্য, পরিবেশ সহ সকল ক্ষেত্রে ভঙ্গুর এই রাষ্ট্রটি এবার পুনর্গঠনের পালা। দেশ এবং পুনর্গঠনের এই যাত্রা পথে অবশ্যই এসডিজির গুরুত্বপূর্ণ ভূমিকা অনস্বীকারযোগ্য এবং এরই অংশ হিসেবে জনগণের সমৃদ্ধি নিশ্চিত করার লক্ষ্যে বর্তমান সরকার 5 বছর মেয়াদী কৌশলগত অর্থনৈতিক কাঠামো বা 5-year স্ট্র্যাটেজিক ফ্রেমওয়ার্ক বাস্তবায়নের পদক্ষেপ গ্রহণ করেছে। এই ফ্রেমওয়ার্ক দেশের জাতীয় উন্নয়ন পরিকল্পনাকে জাতিসংঘ ঘোষিত টেকসই উন্নয়ন লক্ষ্যমাত্রা বা এসডিজির সঙ্গে সমন্বিত করেছে। বর্তমান সরকারের গৃহীত সংস্কার ও উন্নয়নের 5 স্তম্ভের মাধ্যমে দারিদ্র্য বিমোচন, সার্বজনিক সামাজিক সুরক্ষা, মানসম্মত শিক্ষা এবং স্বাস্থ্যসেবা, জেন্ডার সমতা এবং জলবায়ু সহনশীলতা এবং সুশাসন এসডিজির এই মূল অগ্রাধিকারগুলোই প্রতিফলিত হয়েছে। আমি আশা করি এসডিজি ভিলেজ বর্তমান সরকারের নির্বাচনী অঙ্গীকারকে একটি আন্তর্জাতিকভাবে স্বীকৃত ডেভেলপমেন্ট মডেল হিসেবে বিশ্বের সামনে তুলে ধরার একটি দৃষ্টান্তমূলক প্ল্যাটফর্ম হিসেবে গড়ে উঠবে। আগামী দিনের কর্মপরিকল্পনায় কয়েকটি মৌলিক বিষয়ে সরকারের দৃষ্টিভঙ্গি স্পষ্ট। একটি গণতান্ত্রিক রাষ্ট্র যেখানে থাকবে অবাধ নির্বাচন, আইনের শাসন এবং প্রাতিষ্ঠানিক জবাবদিহিতা। একটি মানবিক রাষ্ট্র যেখানে স্বাস্থ্য, শিক্ষা ও নাগরিক অধিকার হবে সার্বজনীন।
Prime Minister Tariq Rahman expressed hope that India will expedite the extradition process of ousted Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, who was toppled on August 5 in 2024 following student people uprising. He came up with this hope when Indian High Commissioner in Dhaka Dinesh Trivedi called on him at the Prime Minister's Cabinet Division office at the Bangladesh Secretariat today. He said, the Prime Minister welcomed the Indian High Commissioner at the outset of the meeting, while Trivedi shared his experiences serving in Dhaka over the past 2 months. Important bilateral issues between Bangladesh and India were discussed at the meeting. Bangladesh expressed its expectation that India would expedite the process of extraditing Sheikh Hasina. Bangladesh also reiterated its request to India to return the killers involved in the murder of Sheikh Osman Hadi. The Prime Minister stressed the need to create an appropriate environment to further advance bilateral relations between the two countries. Foreign Minister Dr. Khalilur Rahman, Prime Minister's Foreign Affairs Advisor Humayun Kobir, and concerned officials were present. Information and Broadcasting Minister Zahiruddin Shapon has said that religious harmony along with social and political stability is essential for the country's economic prosperity. He made the remarks as the chief guest at a discussion meeting held at a Catholic church in Gornodu Bozela of Borisal this noon. The Information Minister said that without strengthening the economy, it would not be possible to improve the quality of citizens' lives. He expressed satisfaction that Bangladesh's garment products are exported abroad, generating foreign currency for the country, with the United States being the largest source of foreign currency earnings from this sector. At the discussion meeting, U.S. Ambassador to Bangladesh Brent T. Christensen said he was deeply impressed to be part of the event and described Borisal as a very beautiful place. He said the United States is a friendly country to Bangladesh and expressed his desire to further strengthen relations between the two countries. Earlier, when the U.S. ambassador arrived at the church, he was welcomed with flowers and given a warm reception. International Crimes Tribunal 2 adjourned until tomorrow the closing arguments in the case against 7 accused, including Obaidul Qadir, over crimes against humanity committed during the July uprising. The hearing was adjourned after the prosecution presented its arguments for the 4th consecutive day before the tribunal, headed by Justice Nazrul Islam Chaudhry. During the arguments, the prosecution presented an audio clip as evidence alleging that Obaidul Qadir had instructed the then State Minister for Information, Mohammad Arafat, to shut down television channels that were broadcasting news of attacks on July protesters. Meanwhile, testimony is underway before Tribunal 1 in the Crimes Against Humanity case against former Army officer Ziaul Ahsan over more than 100 cases of enforced disappearances and killings during the ousted Awami League government. Today, defense lawyers are cross-examining retired Lieutenant Colonel Rafiqul Islam, a witness in the case. Later in the day, the same tribunal is scheduled to hear testimony in the crimes against humanity cases against Shadi Bodit Joy and Junaid Ahmed Polo over the July uprising, as well as cases against Rashid Khan Menon and Kamrul Islam. The 11-party alliance led by Bangladesh Jamaat-e-Islami collected a nomination form from the Election Commission office to contest the presidential election. The alliance leaders collected this form today. Later, at a press briefing, Jamaat-e-Islami Assistant Secretary General Hamidur Rahman Azad said the form was collected on behalf of the alliance's nominated candidate, Liberal Democratic Party President, retired Colonel Oli Ahmed. Earlier on Sunday, a delegation of the ruling BNP collected two nomination forms from this election commission. According to the election schedule, the presidential election will be held on 20th August. Nomination papers can be submitted on 13th August from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. At least 16 Bangladeshi nationals have died after being burned in a fire at a sofa factory in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. The Ministry of Expatriates Welfare and Overseas Employment said that 10 of the victims were from Atrai Upazila in Noga, while another 3 were residents of Noldanga Upazila in neighboring Nator district. The accident occurred at the factory yesterday. According to the Bangladesh Embassy in Riyadh, as cited by the Ministry of Expatriates Welfare, firefighters involved in the rescue operation reported that 16 people died at the scene in the devastating fire. As the bodies were severely burned, identification has become difficult. In a condolence message, Expatriates Welfare and Overseas Employment Minister Ariful Haq Chaudhry said the premature and tragic deaths of the Bangladeshi workers employed in Saudi Arabia were deeply heartbreaking. He said their contribution to the country's economy was immense. He expressed profound grief over their sudden deaths and conveyed his deepest condolences to the bereaved families. The Expatriates Welfare Minister said officials concerned have been instructed to bring the bodies of the deceased workers back to Bangladesh as soon as possible and ensure all necessary government assistance and compensation for their families. Moving on to international news. The United States now wants to pressure Iran economically rather than pursue war. U.S. President Donald Trump said Washington is only semi-negotiating with Tehran. In his phone interview with Axios, Trump said he is prepared to allow economic pressure on Iran mount. The U.S. president did not make any military threats. He said they're just watching Iran with its huge inflation and the fact they have no money. He has also shared a chart showing the plunging value of the Iranian rial between 2025 and now. The chart was titled "Iran has no money" with the text "Currency is trash" on it. Trump said the US is low-keying it with Tehran and his administration is watching as economic pressure mounts on Iran, which has no money. Meanwhile, Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi said that no direct talks were taking place with the United States, but mediators are continuing efforts to prepare the ground for direct negotiations. He also said that an agreement with Oman involving the Strait of Hormuz is in its final stages. However, he added that the Strait of Hormuz will not be reopened until the United States lifts its naval blockade on Iran and fulfills Iran's other demands. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said Saturday that as many as 50,000 North Korean soldiers could be deployed to Russia, reflecting growing military cooperation between the two countries. He did not elaborate on his sources for this information, but warned that Pyongyang could gain valuable battlefield experience and military technology through its support for Russia. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky on Saturday said up to 50,000 North Korean soldiers will be deployed in Russia to fight for Pyongyang's ally, while calling on South Korea to provide support for Ukraine's air defense. Zelensky said on X on Saturday that a decision has been made for 30,000 to 50,000 North Koreans to be deployed on the territory of Russia, a higher figure than his estimate of 30,000 in July. He did not elaborate on how he obtained the information. He said Kiev had found some North Korean missiles in Ukraine's territory without disclosing their locations. Oil prices are climbing as Iran's latest demands for reopening the Strait of Hormuz dampen hopes for a return to stability in global energy markets. Brent crude, the international benchmark, rose more than 1% on Monday as Tehran's insistence that the critical waterway will not reopen without major concessions from the United States stoked market anxiety. Brent futures for October stood at $84.11 a barrel at 7:30 GMT, up 0.7%. Following the latest gains, the global benchmark was up about 16% compared to before the start of the US and Israel's war on Iran. Trump unveils $100 million mining education push to boost critical minerals. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi said on Sunday that while Iran and Oman were close to an agreement on Hormuz, the waterway would not reopen until Washington met certain conditions, including easing sanctions on Tehran and paying war reparations. Iran has reportedly hit another tanker in the Persian Gulf off the coast of Oman, setting it on fire, Gulf News reported earlier today, noting the information had yet to be verified. The information first emerged on social media with video footage showing a vessel on fire. These reports follow earlier ones by Reuters and the Associated Press on another tanker that was hit by Iran on August 8. The vessel was Emirati and prompted condemnation from the UAE and other Gulf governments. That attack was confirmed by ADNOC and by the United Kingdom Maritime Trade Operations. Per the latest unverified reports on a strike in the Gulf, the vessel was struck by multiple anti-ship cruise missiles, Gulf News also wrote earlier today. Chinese authorities have evacuated more than 1 million people from their homes in eastern China, including the financial capital Shanghai, as Typhoon Dolphin made landfall. The typhoon brought heavy rain and halted transportation across the region. Nearly 1,000 flights were cancelled in Shanghai alone on Monday. While authorities have downgraded Dolphin to a tropical storm, they continue to warn of torrential rains, severe flooding, and the risk of landslides through to Wednesday as the storm moves north. Chinese authorities had earlier issued their highest-level red alert for Dolphin, which is the strongest storm to hit China this year. It packed maximum wind speeds of 150 km per hour when it first slammed into Yuhan in the Zhejiang province at 17:30 on Sunday, before making a second landfall in the city of Wenzhou about an hour later, meteorological authorities said. Heavy rain was forecast on Monday for the provinces of Shandong, Henan, Hubei, Anhui, Jiangsu, Zhejiang, and the city of Shanghai. Reuters' Typhoon Dolphin made landfall in eastern China on Sunday evening. Getty Images residents wade through flooded streets in Shanghai. Governments have urged people to avoid outdoor activities, while several top tourist attractions remain closed, including parts of Disneyland and Legoland and several viewing platforms along the Bund in Shanghai. That brings us to the end of the news. Thank you for staying with us. Khuda Hafiz.